Hello, welcome back to my channel and to another reaction video. This time we continue the Greater Terran Union series. This is part 7.
When the first pioneers passed across the boundaries of the solar system in search of whatever lay beyond, it was impossible to not compare them to the ancient seafaring peoples of Earth. In the classrooms and culture of the era, the first landings on Acadia were viewed as the natural culmination of human exploration that began with the discovery of the Solomon Islands by the prehistoric Lapita, or the rounding of the Horn of Africa by the Somali kingdoms of antiquity. The galaxy was simply the next great ocean, perilous and sometimes deadly, but filled with wonders and treasures beyond human imagination. By the dawn of the 26th century, most within the Greater Terran Union could argue that this ocean had been tamed. Alien nations that had for centuries boldly resisted humanity's conquests existed now only in memory. Peoples whose own history and culture might once have been the equal of any found on Earth pledged their allegiance to new banners and foreign values. The most sacred relics, crowns, monuments, constitutions, and holy objects from a dozen fallen worlds were displayed in the museums of Earth and its colonies, a testament to human greatness. Few citizens within the Union realized that this ocean they had dominated was beginning to boil. The growing arrogance of humanity was not unfounded. With the end of the final war against the Compact, the Phyraxian Confederation had been established as a Terran satellite state, while the Rixian Galactic Directorate too retained its sovereignty in name only. Both joined the Union of Nemirium as puppet governments, their economies, political systems, and militaries now wholly dependent on the GTU and completely subordinate to its interests. Technological innovation also continued at a remarkable pace. In the Bernard Star system, the wealth and labor of almost the entire Union was put towards a single unparalleled goal. Utilizing self-replicating nanotechnology reverse-engineered from discoveries in the extragalactic star cluster, the first steps were taken towards the construction of a Dyson sphere. The announcement of Project Malakbel was a shock to the greater galactic community and even the citizens of the GTU themselves. While the construction of a Dyson sphere was long theorized, it was believed by most to be an insurmountable task, centuries,
I have heard this,
millennia,
but I don't remember what it is.
When the barest of frameworks had been constructed, however, the project drew the attention of the Florian matriarchy. A highly advanced and pacifist civilization widely respected across the galaxy, the Florians were horrified by the Greater Terran Union's efforts. In a dramatic bit of irony, Bernard Star, viewed from the Florian homeworld, was located in their most revered constellation, one that depicted their society's unifying figure. The Florians did all but beg the Greater Terran Union to reconsider the placement of Project Malakbel, even offering financial compensation, but the Florian matriarchy had been one of the fiercest critics of the Sword of Terra, and their requests were denied. As Project Malakbel progressed, the Greater Terran Union moved to solidify its outermost territories. The recent conquests had given the Union a wealth of former Algan, Rixian, and Phyraxian systems, but these in turn had brought it into direct contact with new potential rivals. Along the Outer Rim, particular attention was given to the Vol Hive. Largely isolationist since their defeat by Union forces in one of the earliest wars against the Compact, the Vol's hive mind bore a disconcerting resemblance to that of the Tyrim. Clearly formidable, Union High Command nevertheless projected their defenses could be overwhelmed, and their worlds occupied in under 5 years with limited casualties.
Really arrogant.
Their strategy was based on utilizing the network of gateways that linked to a primary terminal egress located in the extragalactic cluster. Having activated this network, Terran fleets would be able to almost instantaneously transit to similar gateways across the galaxy, including several located in the heart of Vol space. While critics in a closed session of the National Assembly noted that, like ancient Rome before it, the Greater Terran Union was beginning to conquer an empire out of self-defense, the potential of the operation itself was universally lauded. In 2517, the Greater Terran Union declared war on the Vol Hive. The planned preemptive strike exceeded expectations. By utilizing the gateways, Terran fleets quickly managed to destroy the main strength of the Vol, and afterwards advanced almost unopposed. For the first time, the warships of Fleet Command fought alongside the armadas of its puppet states, and racial divisions that had existed for centuries slowly gave way to mutual respect. In 2520, the homeworld of the Vol Hive was occupied, and the war was all but over. All that was left was for Terran armies to seize the remaining Vol colonies, none of which presented any significant resistance. With the Greater Terran Union seemingly at the height of its power, the declaration of war sent by the Florian Matriarchy was all but dismissed. The action was believed by Terran intelligence services as a purely symbolic display of solidarity with the Vol, one that could be resolved once the Vol had been completely occupied. The Florians were seen as far too distant to be of any real concern. The nearest outposts were put on alert, but no major attack was expected. These assumptions cost hundreds of thousands of lives. Unbeknownst to the Greater Terran Union, the Florians too had activated a secret gateway within their space. Their fleets arrived in the extragalactic cluster at the perfect moment. With the war against the Vol all but over, Terran fleets were in the middle of a great resupply and redeployment, completely unprepared to meet this surprise attack. In the Styx system, center of Terran power in the cluster, a Union battle group was completely destroyed, the single largest defeat in centuries. With the terminal egress now in the hands of the Florians, the situation became catastrophic. The Union's own strategy was turned against them. Florian warships appeared in remote, undefended corners of the GTU. Enormous battle stations that had once guarded against whatever lay in the extragalactic cluster had been converted to nearly defenseless anchorages, or decommissioned entirely. System after system was lost almost without a fight, while the main strength of Union forces, engaged along the border with the Vol, were now completely cut off and out of position. Almost overnight, the economy of the GTU was in ruins, as trade between the Outer Rim territories and the core commissariats was severed. The national strategic reserves were activated, and stores of resources and materials whose use had been prohibited in all but the most dire circumstances were slowly drained. Not since the earliest wars against the Compact had the core territories of the Greater Terran Union been threatened. An armistice was quickly agreed to with the Vol, and the conquest of the Hive left unfinished. With Earth itself potentially in danger, the Terran Home Fleet was deployed. Together with several other battle groups, it mobilized its strength in the Gadaxis system, directly in the path of the Florians' most formidable armada. Stopping the advance of the Florians would be the largest battle in the history of the Greater Terran Union, and one that would determine if the war against them could be won. When the Florians arrived in Gadaxis, they faced the full might of humanity. For weeks, the battle was fought across the entire system. Warships and weapon systems that had never met their equal in combat were now put to the ultimate test. Hundreds of ships were lost, and even Union-class dreadnoughts, pride of Fleet Command, were destroyed by fanatic Florian attacks. In a battle of such scale, it was impossible to determine when the tide began to turn. But after over a month of fighting, the Florians had been annihilated, almost down to the last ship. While they suffered horrific losses, the battle groups of Fleet Command had seized the initiative and began a campaign of liberation. It took a further 3 years before the last occupied territory of the GTU was retaken, and when Terran forces arrived in the Styx system for the first time in half a decade, they found it abandoned. With the gateway network seized once more, the first tentative offensives were made into the center of Florian territory. While not yet fully recovered enough to commit to any lengthy campaign over such a great distance, by seizing a collection of Florian colonies and star systems, the will of the Florians was broken, and the war came to an end.
Okay.
The victorious GTU established a buffer state, the Commonwealth of Caprici, in the conquered Florian systems. But the price that had been paid was insurmountable. The myth of Terran invincibility was shattered, and the Greater Terran Union was forced to accept that its position of superiority was far less stable than had been previously accepted. Above all, however, The war against the Florians proved decisively that the other great powers of the galaxy, long dismissed as weak-willed, could no longer be underestimated. The activation of the gateways has brought even the most distant nations within reach, and should they follow the example of the Florians and commit themselves to standing against the plans of humanity, the Greater Terran Union might drown in the ocean they sought to conquer.
That's a cool line. Oh. Well, there we have it, folks. Part 7 of the Greater Terran Union, and yeah, arrogant humans learned the hard way not to underestimate these foreign powers. Florians they're called, and they truly did challenge humans. I mean, there were a number of factors. They were the loudest to when criticizing against the Terran sword weapon system. They did not want the Dyson sphere near their territory. And then when humanity started the war against the another hive species, that was the last straw, and little did they know that the artwork was beautiful here. But yeah, little did humans know the Florians had their own gateway. And with that they completely took humanity by surprise, cutting off their main fleet into the Styx system. And yeah, taking human colonies without a fight. And yet they did mention that the galaxy perceives the Terran Union as invincible, but yeah, now it was completely shattered that the Florians managed to challenge humanity in such a way. But in the end, the greatest battle in the Greater Terran Union's history happened when they pulled all their remaining resources and met the Florians in a month-long battle in which the Florians were completely their fleet was completely destroyed, and following that they attacked the Florian system and quickly broke their morale, and once again the Greater Terran Union achieved victory, but hopefully they won't be as arrogant as they once were. But yeah, this was not gonna lie, I did like the part that okay, someone put humanity to their place. They seemed a bit arrogant, and a lot of this episode. So hopefully it'll look better to them in the future. But yeah, a great episode, might be my favorite so far. What do you guys think? Write your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed my reaction. Drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe if you want, and I will see you in another video. Bye.